Welcome back to the program. Hope you all had a great weekend. Hope you're all refreshed, rejuvenated, energized, and ready to continue to fight for this great country. Before I get into what happened tonight, and thankfully Cornhole is gone, and we'll get into that here in a little bit, I wanted to play a video, and this is from a longtime Democrat strategist that has been working on campaigns since the 1990s, early 2000s, and has worked with the DNC for many, many years. And according to her, they don't just have a policy problem, they even have a process problem. Listen to this.
An autopsy or a look back on what went wrong is not going to be the reason Democrats win or don't win in 26 or 28. But I think what it highlighted is the growing frustration among party regulars, activists, about the head of the DNC. DNC has been having so much trouble raising money. They have been outraised by multiples of, I can't even tell you how many, by the RNC. And here's the thing, the throw weight, the financial throw weight of the party is not what it used to be. Back when I started doing this, they were everything. Now you have super PACs and billionaires that can fill that void. What the DNC and the RNC can do, though, that makes them very important, they set up the rules for how you get nominated to be your party's person to take the presidency. They set the dates for when we have primaries and which states go first. And they have the rules about the delegates. If voters within the Democratic sphere and the activists in that Democratic sphere don't trust the DNC to do this well, that is very dangerous going into 2028 if people within the Democratic Party are fighting amongst themselves about how the process works.
So that's what she's talking about. It's not just their terrible policies, which is already putting them at a disadvantage, thankfully, but it's also the process. And what she means by that, and we've seen this in the past couple of election cycles. I mean, it hasn't been that much at the forefront, but they have certainly wrangled around a little bit and changed some things here and there. You know, moving Iowa, moving New Hampshire, moving South Carolina, moving Florida, moving whatever these different primaries are. Well, if you have a radical, I mean, they're all radical, let's face it, but if you have an extreme radical communist, DSA endorsed candidate or something like that, like an AOC, they may want to change the trajectory of the different primaries. And who knows, you could have New York go first to make sure that AOC gets in. Or you could have Gruesome Newsom go first to make sure that he gets in. Or you could have, whoever. And so I think that what she's talking about is real. Number one, they can't raise any money. Republicans are out raising Democrats in huge, huge numbers. Number two, the billionaires are still owed billions of dollars from Heels Up Headboard Harris's campaign, and they're not getting paid. So I'm sure a lot of billionaires that lost a lot of money are probably not going to want to step up to the pump right away and have more of their money go, right? So that's another thing. Plus the fact that at least at this point in the process, it's pretty safe to say that J.D. Vance is likely going to be the nominee for the Republicans. So we don't have that chaos. Now, add to the circus, the guaranteed circus that we will all be watching, I will be commenting on, and that will be leading up to 2028 for the challengers for the Democratic Party. It's going to be their debates, and they're going to be tearing each other down, ripping each other apart, destroying each other. So whoever ends up being their nominee is going to have so many bruises and Band-Aids on, and they're going to be walking with a limp and missing limbs and no teeth, and they're going to be bleeding from both eye sockets, metaphorically. And so they're going to be beaten and battered, and they're going to limp into the general election. So these are some of the things that the Democrats understand, number one, and more importantly, Republicans need to take advantage of. And right now, we're not taking full advantage. Are we doing some things right? Yes, we are, clearly. We're getting rid of rhinos. Now, getting rid of rhinos is probably going to cost President Trump his agenda moving forward, unless in the midterms you can get more people elected so that you have less rhinos and more MAGA America First candidates with better principles and values. And we're pushing for that, and hopefully that's going to happen. But we had to extract the cancers. That's what the rhinos are. They are cancers to the body politic, literally and figuratively. And so we had to extract them, which of course brings me to tonight's great news. No more John Cornhole, okay? Cornyn is done for, gonzo. He lost by huge numbers, 25 percentage points, okay? I saw a map of Texas. The whole thing was just bright red, and then there was like a pinker color, which represented Cornyn. And I think like somewhere around 80% already of the vote is counted. They've already called it an hour after the race. So Cornyn is going to go up against God is non-binary, Jesus was black, and I don't know what other crazy comments that Tallarico idiot has said, that he likes trans kids and all this other sick shit. So that's not going to fly in Texas either, okay? And so I think Cornyn should win that race comfortably. 7 to 10 points, be my guess, in the general election, but we'll see how that goes. But regardless, we got rid of another rhino. So that means that Thune is losing support. Thune doesn't have his baked-in rhinos anymore. We still got Lisa Murkowski, unfortunately. We still have Susan Collins, and we still have, John Curtis in Utah. Thankfully, Tom Tillis is gone. You've got Rand Paul can sometimes be a rhino, right? I mean, usually votes with the Republicans, but sometimes he'll go against President Trump, just like Massey did. And so we're clearing them out. Bill Cassidy. But the last thing we want to do with Bill Cassidy is to put Julie Letdown in. We need Dr. John Fleming in Louisiana. Those Louisiana Patriots better do the right thing and vote for John Fleming and not Julie Letlow. But regardless, we are clearing out some of the rhinos, not all of them, but some of them. And hopefully we're going to refill that with good people, with good, solid people. Imagine having Ted Cruz and Ken Paxton as your two senators from Texas. That would be awesome. Okay? That would be really awesome. Now, a couple other things. Chip Roy lost. So Chip Roy from the House lost. He was running for Attorney General to fill Ken Paxton's spot, who's going to go to the Senate, hopefully. And he lost against, what's the guy's name? Miles Middleton or something, I think his name is. Something like that. I don't know a lot about him. He's a younger guy. I think he was a state senator in Texas. So he won the nomination. Chip Roy did not. And there's a couple of other races in Texas. But Al Green, Mr. Impeach with the cane himself, is out. Apparently he got beat in his primary as well. So again, clearing out the deep state, clearing out the Democrats, clearing out a lot, because that whoever replaced him isn't going to win that district, because again, it's being redistrict as well. So that should be a Republican takeover in the House as well. The weak suck rhino idiots in South Carolina have blocked, at least for now, again, for the second time, redistricting efforts in South Carolina. Don't know what's going on in South Carolina, man. That's crazy, but looks like President Trump is getting ready to give them the Indiana treatment. So they're going to be punished for doing what they did. The Alabama, this is interesting. Alabama's map has been blocked by liberal justices. But here's the thing. They don't have the power to do that. Now, all they're doing, essentially, is forcing Alabama to spend money and litigate it and go back up to the Supreme Court, where, of course, the Supreme Court is saying, hey, we don't want gerrymandering anymore. So I'm assuming that one's going to be okay. Tennessee, the judge, was a Trump-appointed judge today, said that their maps are no problem. They can stay. And DeSantis in Florida, a judge there, said that those maps are good as well. So the majority, again, the overall majority of our maps for the midterms are on solid ground, and it should all work out, really, really good for that. Now, a couple other things that I wanted to talk about here briefly in this segment, and that was where is it? I have it over here. There it is. So a lot of interesting things are happening with fraud. Okay, there's hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of investigations, and J.D. Vance and Stephen Miller and Colin McDonald did a press conference today, and they went over everything, and they were talking about something that I talked about many months ago, which is to basically incentivize the American people to go out there and find fraud, right? If we can do that, we can clean up the fraud because we're incentivizing them. You get to keep a certain percentage of how much you collect. So it should start at 25%, and then you should have a scale. The more you collect, the higher your percentage would be, right? So almost like a fraud Olympics, okay? And now I sent this to J.D. Vance, and I sent this to Miller, and I sent this to Besant, and I sent this to McDonald and a bunch of others. And what I'm talking about is something that they were talking about in their press conference, which kind of gave me this idea. They are talking about going to a state. They wouldn't say what state it was. Probably Ohio, if I had to guess, or maybe Minnesota, right? Or maybe California. It's going to be one of those three. Anyway, they're going to a, quote, state, and they're taking their, quote, fraud examinations on the road, is what they said. And so I started thinking about that. Well, if they're going to a state with a delegation that's going to crack down on fraud, why not have a contest like a fraud Olympics and have 4 different regions, right? So you have the East region, the West region, the Midwest region, and the Southwest region, and have 4 different regions. Hire directors for those. Those directors then hire trainers, and then hire security personnel, and put these people that are independent journalists around the country into these training seminars and teach them how to legally look for fraud and to go to these businesses. Of course, they're going to have security with them and everything else. And if we can do this nationwide and then have contests, so like, again, the 4 different regions would be competing against each other to see who could collect the most amount of fraud. And the winner gets the largest percentage, or, something like that. So I suggested this to them, and I said this does 2 things. Number one, it would probably clean up all of the fraud, which, by the way, J.D. Vance has said has eclipsed $135 billion. You may remember when they were talking about Minnesota, and I said, or they were talking about $18 billion, right? At first it was $9 billion, then it went up to like $12 billion, and then they said, we think it's going to be double the $9 billion to $18 billion. And what did I say way back then? I said, folks, you're going to find out that it's going to be over $100 billion. And most people said, you're crazy, it's not going to be that much. Well, they just said already, since COVID, they have found $135 billion. And that's just in a few states. So could you imagine if you set up regions around the country with people investigating businesses for fraud all around the country with security, of course, and training, so they do it legally and constitutionally, but you go around and you find these businesses and you find the fraud and you get paid a percentage on finding that fraud. How quick are we going to wipe out a big portion of our national debt, number one, and number two, take that money and give it back to the American people before the midterms as a fraud reimbursement refund check, rebate check, whatever you want to call it, and give the American people $3,000 or $4,000 each, okay? And you do that around October 1st to October 15th, trust me, you're going to win the midterms, okay? That's what they need to do. So I put out that suggestion. Don't know if they're going to do it. Hopefully they will. I think it's a great idea. I think if you incentivize the American people and show them that, hey, we're serious about protecting taxpayer dollars and we're serious to the point where we're going to give it back to you, how do you vote against that? You can't, as far as I'm concerned. So we'll see what happens. But again, tonight was a good night. We got rid of Cornhole, and, we're moving in the right direction. So keep the faith. Those are my thoughts. What are yours? Put them down in the comments below. We'll see you in the next one.